Hello, I'm Dave Feinlieb, and this is Beyond the Shelf. This show is an open exploration of the people and process behind e-commerce. Through conversations with innovators in the space, we learn the stories of these leaders and their strategies for e-commerce success. You can find out more about how we're helping leading brands and retailers like Pepsi and Instacart build retail media and product detail page content faster than ever before at itsrapid.ai. My guest on today's show is Gireesh Sahukar, Vice President of Digital at Dawn Foods Global, where he drives data, analytics, AI, and e-commerce strategy, along with policy and execution. With years of expertise across both the agency and client side, Gireesh brings a wealth of knowledge on leveraging technology for business growth and driving digital transformation. Gireesh holds a bachelor's degree from BMS College of Engineering and a master's in Management Information Systems from the University of Illinois, Chicago. Please enjoy my conversation with Gireesh. Would you take us back and tell us how you got into the space?
Thanks, Dave. Right out of grad school, I was recruited to join a startup in the industrial IoT space. And a few years into that startup, we got acquired by GE. It is now part of GE Digital. From there, I moved to another startup called Endeca. Many of your audience will be familiar with that. It was a search, e-commerce site search platform that was dominating the space in the 90s and 2000s. And in 2011, Endeca was acquired by Oracle. I was there through that time, through hypergrowth and acquisition into Oracle. And after about a while after that acquisition, I went out into consulting world and did a lot of Big Four consulting, landed in Accenture, did e-commerce consulting over there, and then wanted to get a flavor for what it is that happens after the consultants that build the e-commerce platforms and sites leave, and how does a brand retailer take over and run that e-commerce technology and run that e-commerce business on top of all that technology that somebody built for them. I wanted to be the owner of that car, so to speak, and not just build the car and turn the keys over. So spent the last decade or so on the client side, building, owning, operating, and running the e-commerce business.
There's so much good information and such a great path to unpack there. I want to ask you about the startup part, the growth part, and then what it's been like to be on kind of the driver of the car, as you said. So let me start with the startup part. Tell us a little about that. And Endeca, of course, among others, really well known. Some of the folks there went on to found Salsify, as many of our listeners will know. I'd love to just hear about the journey there and what some of the experiences were like.
Yeah, on the startup side, I have great fond memories of the experiences there. Typical startups are small, really scrappy, right? The first startup I joined out of grad school, I was really the first full-time developer on the team. And I ended up building vast majorities of the code base that eventually became productized. So I had to wear many hats. I had to be the developer. I had to QA the platform. I had to build continuous integration. I had to build automation so that we could build and develop and deploy our client server technology faster. And I also had to work with customers on their issues that they were facing. So talking to customers, understanding how they were deploying, how they were using the software, understanding the features that they were using, and what issues they ran into. So when you think about all that, right, it's basically everything other than sales, customer success, product support, product marketing, um, obviously engineering, and so there was a lot of learning, and in a very short amount of time, too. I spent a little over 2 years there, about 2.5 years. But it gave me 20 years of experience that I would have had in a large company.
Yeah, it's amazing. And was it hard to, let's say, switch from working in the code base to getting the product live to then talking to customers?
Um, who says I wasn't doing all three at the same time?
I love it. I love it.
uh,
Exactly.
there were days when I was literally writing code and talking to the customer at the same time, talking to the customer, understanding their problem, going into the particular area of the code base, and looking at the code as I was talking to them, understanding what part of the code would be throwing the error that they were having, and fixing it, and doing the build, and running it with the customer issue test cases so that I could create a fix for that customer and send it to them. So sometimes it was all three.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I have to say, building on that, it's one of the most rewarding things in the world to hear the problem, fix it quickly, and then have it in the hands of the customer. There's just nothing like it. Now, from there, you went on to consulting, and tell us a little about that. And then also about the experience of being the customer and driving the car.
When I was in Endeca, which is how I got into the search space, I was working with a lot of partners. Some of them were our e-commerce platform partners, great partners like ATG and Hybris, which we at Endeca introduced into the North America market. I was constantly working with these e-commerce platform partners and their system integrator partners who were building these mega applications and integrating all kinds of things, payment gateway, PIM, CMS, DAM, all the tools to manage those things. And once all of that was done, typically back then about a year or so, they would launch the site. So I never fully saw the end to end implementations of one of those. So on the consulting side, that was what was intriguing to me, to go be part of one of those implementations and work through end to end from initial requirements gathering to a eventual launch. And so I got into consulting through some opportunities there, and eventually landed at Accenture, where it was not just building the customer sites, but also building a practice internally to evangelize e-commerce as a pretty big opportunity. If you look at where growth has been in the last 2 decades or so, for most brands and retailers, the growth has been in e-commerce. It's not been in their brick and mortar space. So helping them understand the opportunity, understanding internally, sharing that internally, and growing that commerce practice within large consulting agency type of businesses. That was really a fairly rewarding experience, I should say.
And now you're at Dawn Foods. Tell us what drew you to the company, and also a little about what your day-to-day looks like.
Yeah, Dawn Foods, for those of you in our audience that do not know, is a B2B company. We are a manufacturer and distributor of baking ingredients. We make and distribute things like products like cake mixes, donut mixes, fillings, icing, glazing, anything that a bakery, your neighborhood bakery, needs to make their sweet baked goods. We manufacture and distribute those items to the bakeries. Our customer base is predominantly your neighborhood mom and pop bakery. by the thousands in our customer base. And we work with them fairly regularly on a daily basis.
What I thought was so interesting when we started talking was that you actually also help craft recipes. You talk to them about how the ingredients can be used. You really are hand in hand with them on helping them not just use the product, but then bring kind of the finished product to me as a consumer.
Yeah, and this is one of the value propositions of Dawn Foods. We're a old company. We're a 104-year-old company. We've been around forever. We've been around since 1920. So we know a thing or two about baking as a company. There is a lot of baking expertise in the company, right from our founding family, who still owns and operates the company today, to a lot of former bakers that have become part of the team here at Dawn. So they bring their bakery expertise. They create and craft recipes. We have a well accomplished culinary team that crafts recipes and puts together not just a recipe on a sheet of paper, but also creates videos and can showcase how to work with Dawn products. So we can showcase all that on e-commerce, and it allows us to bring all of those recipes to our customers online as well as offline. We can say, this donut mix can be used to make these other things. This cake mix can also be used to make these 5 other SKUs that you can sell to your consumers. So we can provide that kind of insight and help our customers, not just with the products, but also with the technical expertise. We have a team, a technical services team, which is basically a bunch of bakers that go out to customers and help them with new ideas, inspiration, and bringing new concepts to life in their bakeries. So working with them side by side, creating those products and working to make sure that they have the right product in their bakery case, and it looks appealing to consumers.
I feel like I need to tag along for a few of those meetings so that I could sample the product, both the original and the ingredient form and the finished product. So that seems like it would be a lot of fun. Now, tell us, when you started at Dawn, did it take some convincing to have the leadership be thinking about e-com and the opportunity there, or was it something they were already thinking about, or kind of how did that come about?
Yeah, when I came to Dawn Foods 5 years ago, the company had already convinced itself that it needed to provide self-service options for its customers. Customers had said so to the company in many feedback sessions before. The company did not fully understand how to go about executing that and what it needed, so it brought in experts that had the expertise in building self-service tools and experiences. And that happened to be e-commerce in our case. So we went to work 5 years ago. And I said, here's our vision. Here's what we will deliver as a company. And internally as well as externally, we validated that, talking to our sales team or some of our key customers. We wanted to verify that the vision was right, that they were interested in that direction. And customers overwhelmingly said, yes, this is what we want. We've been asking for years. So we had that customer validation anecdotally. So we went to work and we announced internally at our sales kickoff in 2020 in January that we would be launching a B2B e-commerce solution for our customers on July 1st. January 2020 seems like a long time ago, but back then nobody had heard of COVID in the US. It was not a consideration. We were also building out a digital team of experts in Boston. And we were trying to put together a physical footprint for these folks in Boston to work from, an office. So 3 major things that we were doing in that timeframe. a lot of companies and a lot of teams would consider just doing one of those as a successful year.
Yeah, 100%.
We were ambitious and targeting on achieving all three. Thanks to COVID, we only achieved two of those things. We put together a team and we launched a B2B e-commerce solution on time by July 1st. And we had gone down pretty far into the path of building our own office, which we backed out of thanks to COVID, which, two out of three ain't bad, as they say in baseball, right?
Yeah. And tell us maybe an example of something that is self-service in the B2B world in this scenario that wouldn't be self-service in kind of the historical way of doing whatever the work was.
Yeah, historically, our company relied on human-to-human interactions for order placing. So when a customer needed supplies, baking supplies, they would have to either call or wait for the sales rep to stop by, which our sales rep stop by every one of their customers every week. So, you know when your sales rep is going to show up and you have a list of items that you want to order, right? That is not how e-commerce works. You can go add things to your cart anytime and you place the order when you're ready. And as a B2B company, we deliver most of our orders next day. So if you place your order by 10 a.m. today, it shows up tomorrow at your back door for delivery. So that is how we have operated, right? In e-commerce, it's that paradigm is different. You're not waiting for your sales rep. Instead, your sales rep is dropping things into your cart or talking to you through the platform and in person, telling you about new recipes, telling you about new ideas, inspiration, and giving you free samples and things like that to work with so that you are able to do the same things that you were doing offline. Right. So a lot of that communication still happens between the customer and the sales rep. We've just provided a mechanism online on the website to have that same conversation.
It's so great. And then you're still bringing in, of course, the anecdotal and the input from the sales team and the tech teams and all of that. But you kind of complement it with this immediacy, I guess, that happens through the site and the ability to place the order.
Yeah, one of the concepts that your audience would be familiar is a voice of customer program. Many of them have pretty rich and robust programs. We borrowed that concept from B2C and retailers. We instituted our own voice of customer program, and it delivers feedback through multiple mechanisms. Surveys is fairly popular. We also have a panel of customers that we source ideas and input from. We also do visits to our customers. And let me tell you, those are always challenging and dangerous, depending on your appetite. We were just visiting a customer yesterday, and you can't say no to your customer offering donuts, and you have to sample all of them, right? How else do you know what good tastes like? So you can go wild on those things. Every customer has 50 or so donut varieties. There's a lot to sample and a lot of ideas there to work with. So you have to figure out between all of those things, how do you take what the customer says? How do you expand that idea from one customer so that it scales for all of your user base and build something that is materially meaningful for both your customers and the consumers.
It strikes me that you have a unique ability to take all the technology and all these elements and succinctly articulate the story of what that technology is going to enable. Will you kind of talk to us about how you do that, and then how you talk with leadership and customers about all these different tech stacks and elements that have to come together, and how does that turn into something they can actually use day to day?
Yeah, we try not to talk technology. Although we are technologists at heart, we try not to talk technology to anyone because it doesn't serve the purpose. At the end of the day, you're there to run a business, right? So you need to figure out, okay, what are the levers I have to run the business? What are the levers to grow the business? And what do we need to do to continue that journey? And as a result, you come up with different ideas, initiatives, and some may involve technology, some may not involve technology. You just have to apply technology to a business problem and not the other way around, not have a technology go searching for a business problem to solve. So you try to understand what business problems do we have, and what technology levers or non-technology levers, honestly, do you have to solve those business problems and challenges? And how do you deliver outcomes that drive value for your customers? So the more you do that and the more you keep repeating that, you end up solving over a long period of time, in my case, 5 years, um, solving a lot of those tiny problems or tiny business challenges. You end up with a pretty significant business on your hands.
Yeah, absolutely. Tell us what's an example of something you maybe could solve with technology, but you're not going to solve it with tech, but you're going to solve it with something that's non-tech.
Yeah, there are quite a few of those. When you think about how can you better collaborate, there are any number of collaboration tools out there. Um, but in reality, what collaboration really means is getting people together around a table, having the conversation in person, understanding the problem space and the problem statement deeper, diving into the many conversations, the many sidebars that happen when you get 10 or 15 or 20 people around you together, right? That doesn't happen on a Zoom call or a Teams meeting. That does not happen on a Miro board. As much as I like all these tools and use them extensively, there is no substitute for getting 20 people in a room and having that dialogue, right? So that is a no-tech solution to a fairly basic problem, right? Improve collaboration. You can only do that through in-person settings.
Now I'm going to flip that around. What's an example of maybe an insight that you've been able to get through the tech and the B2B capabilities that you put in place that maybe you were getting through the person-to-person interactions, but you're getting even a richer context or maybe more frequent data through the tech implementations you put in place?
Yeah, we have tens of thousands of customers, and every customer has a particular preference, right? If a certain cake mix is not available, they will go buy a different cake mix. We've got many varieties of them. However, what is the sort of best matches from many customers, right? The sort of wisdom of the crowds. How do you generate that? You can get in any particular region of the country. We've got a few dozen sales reps. You can ask them. You can ask their customers. You'll get individual anecdotes. But this is where the power of data comes into play. You can aggregate a particular region and look at, okay, for this particular cake mix, what are some of the more prominent complementary items? Or if a customer doesn't buy this cake mix, but buys all these complementary items, what cake mix are they buying, right? So you can see the propensity, you can see the influence of one SKU on another or a set of other SKUs, and you can generate those insights really in a matter of milliseconds with the amount of technology we have. And then you can use those kind of relationships that you can programmatically generate and recommend other SKUs to your customers saying, hey, you're buying this cake mix. Here's a bunch of sprinkles that go along with it. Right? Or you're buying this cake mix. Here's some icings. Here's some fillings. Here's some toppers that go along with it. Or you're buying the toppers and the fillings, but we don't see you buying cake mixes. So here are a bunch of cake mixes that I can recommend you to go along with it. And over time, your algorithms can get smarter with more purchasing data and intent. You can take a look at the visit data. You can take a look at the purchase data. You can take a look at the behavioral data. Did they bounce as soon as we show them the recommendations, or did they actually interact with the recommendations, or did they just scroll past it? What actions did they take? What behaviors are we seeing, and how do we then apply those behavioral data to those recommendations and try to filter out the ones that are not performing versus the ones that are performing? So you can do a lot of those things. You don't need first party data. You just need some activity data over there.
Such a great insight. And hopefully you can let me in on the secret after you analyze the data to tell me how to make a good chocolate chip cookie to
right.
keep the family happy. My small contribution to the baking world. So, but it's a great use of kind of a mix of data that you have and this ability to then connect people in person, as you mentioned in the kind of the non-tech example. Well, I'd love to take a look. You've built out really a whole business here around e-com and B2B, this entire tech stack. What are you thinking about for the next couple of years here? What's on your radar for where what you're going to build and what's coming up?
Yeah, I don't think this sounds any different than any of your previous guests, right? Optimization and profitability is front and center for a lot of e-commerce operators today, and that's no different in B2B. B2B traditionally is a volume business, and you have to continually become more efficient and make your operations more efficient. That means taking the insights that your data is telling you or screaming at you and applying that to your processes internally and taking those actions to optimize your business to become more efficient and effective, and become cost competitive in the market against your competitors, right? So there's no secret sauce to that. It's just doing the same things over and over, doing them effectively, doing them better than your competitors, and using your data to analyze where you can get better at that. So that is really what's on our radar. And we are in an interesting business. It's agriculture based business. We buy a lot of sugar and flour and whole grains and things like that. A lot of those products are dependent on crops, right? And harvesting seasons and cycles. So a good harvesting season means crop prices are lower. A bad one means prices go higher. We've been in a cycle where the last few years we've had low crop yields and prices are through the roof, and now they're somewhat moderating due to a good crop harvest this year. So we'll see where that takes us. And different crop harvests mean different challenges, right, in formulating a product. So while the cake should taste the same eventually, the flour that it starts out with might have different moisture content, different amounts of different minerals and things like that. So you have to find out season by season how your formula changes and adjust accordingly. So while we strive to keep our formulations the same, the raw materials will play a pretty big part with it. So we have to keep an eye on those kind of markets as well. It's a pretty fascinating business to be in.
It's easy to forget, I think, that we're always working in the digital and systems and the content and all that stuff. And then really there's a very fundamental physical product that goes into the product that's made and then ends up in, what I might bring home for a birthday party or a breakfast or what have you. So it's
absolutely
really, really interesting. One last question is, of course, AI. Where does that play a role? Does it play a role in B2B generally? How are you thinking about it? Or what are you excited about, perhaps, as you think about some of the capabilities there?
Yeah, this is the topic du jour, right? You can't publish a podcast episode without talking about AI.
Exactly.
There are a lot of great use cases of AI, even in a B2B company. We already touched upon some of the recommendation stuff. I didn't use the word AI or ML, but that's really what we're doing underneath the covers. There's also forecasting, inventory and demand forecasting that AI can do that many more times than a human can. So you apply that principle and make AI do demand forecasting and inventory planning several times a day if you can or if you need to, versus doing it once or twice a year, in historical context, right? So because you're doing that forecasting much more frequently and you're doing that planning almost on a daily, hourly basis, you get better outputs with that. You can focus on where does the product need to be, at what quantity, and at what time, so that you can service the demand. We are just getting out of a Halloween season here. For us, Halloween season is over because the bakeries that need to buy Halloween stuff have bought it. You're going to buy it next week. But for us, we needed to have those items 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, so that the bakers could buy it 2 weeks ago. And now they're making them and selling them, right? So now our focus is on Thanksgiving. For us, the peak happens before the traditional day, a month before the traditional day. So we're in that Thanksgiving peak right now. And by the time Thanksgiving rolls around, we'll be in the Christmas peak season. So for us, it's that constant, what does the next month look like? What does the next quarter look like? And we're already talking about things like Funchki Day, right? Pretty far away. That's almost 6 months away, but we're talking about it now. We're planning about it today because we need to manufacture the items. We need to source complementary items for those kind of holidays, and we need to have them ready. We need to find enough gingerbread ingredients so that we can be ready for the holiday cookie making season that will roll around in 6 weeks time, which means we've got 2 weeks left to be prepped and ready for it. So those are the kind of things that we think about, and we create a marketing calendar that is ahead of everyone else's schedule and might look somewhat wonky, but it is our holiday calendar, right? And it works for us. And those are the kind of things that we are constantly looking at, evaluating, applying AI to. You can't really just take general purpose AI. You've got to sort of mesh it to your calendar needs. So you've got things like RAG, retrieval augmented generation, so that you apply your sort of knowledge base to a general purpose AI model and make it work better for you. So those are the kind of things that we are looking at and we are experimenting with.
So many great topics. I've got a couple of fun wrap-up questions for you. The first of which is, and I know it's hard to pick only two, but which two people have influenced you the most in your professional career?
The first person I want to recognize, I'm not going to name names because that will disappoint or get my LinkedIn inbox filled up with others who are not happy about it. The first person I want to recognize is my former high school math and physics teacher. He inspired not just my learning and love for math and physics, but a lifelong curiosity about everything around you. Made me understand at a very early age that everything can be explained as long as you're curious about it and are willing to learn and dive into things. So he's one of my two people. The other one is one of my former managers who taught me a lot of the basics and helped me work through without actually solving problems for me, but helped me understand how to think through problems in the workplace. How do you define different solutions? How do you think about the various options you have on the table? Some are fairly conventional, some out of the box. how do you recognize diversity? How do you put that into work? And how do you build an equitable team and workforce? So a lot of managerial thinking that I benefit from today were from folks like that.
Those are such great people to have as mentors, and a ton of great wisdom there on all the aspects of personal and professional. So thanks for sharing those. My next question is, when you get some time, if you get some time outside of work and family, what are some of your favorite hobbies? What do you like to do?
Outside of family is hard, but I'll try and see if this cuts it for you. I'm a big fan of two things: Legos and field hockey. Legos is really just my time with my daughter on a weekend. We build a lot of Legos, and it sort of is that time, father-daughter bonding time. We talk a lot of things. We build a lot of Legos. In fact, we've got a holiday themed Lego thing that we put together. I believe that might actually be happening today or tomorrow at our house. And all of the Legos come out, and other people decorate with other things. We decorate our Christmas tree and holiday season with Lego built things. The other one is field hockey. I've been a big fan of the sport. Played it growing up, and have passed that successfully on to my daughter. So, and I live across the street from our town's fields for all the sports. So, we can just go across the street and practice a little bit of field hockey on any given day. So she and I just pick up our sticks, go across the street, and play when we have some time and the weather is nice.
I like how you've combined your passions and your family together. And that's a great way to wrap up today's show. Gireesh, if our listeners want to find you online, what's the best way for them to do that?
The best way to do that is through LinkedIn. Just go to LinkedIn, search for my name, Gireesh Sahukar, and I'm probably the only one on LinkedIn. Or my LinkedIn link is linkedin.com/in/Sahukar, just my last name, fairly easy to find, and get in touch over there.
Awesome. Well, Gireesh, I've really enjoyed it. We covered so many great topics, all the way from your origin story, how you got started in the space, to some of the insights on tech and non-tech capabilities and interactions. And really enjoyed spending some time together today and learning from you. I hope you'll come back and share some more stories with us in the future.
Yeah, appreciate the opportunity here. And, I'll be back anytime you want me to. Thanks, Dave.
I hope you enjoyed today's show. Beyond the Shelf is brought to you by It's Rapid. It's Rapid is the platform Pepsi, Sierra Nevada, Revlon, and hundreds of other leading brands and retailers use to build personalized content at scale. Whether that's images, videos, or product descriptions for their product detail pages, shoppable videos or banners for their digital ad campaigns, or sell sheets for sales enablement, brands that use It's Rapid are able to produce high-quality, on-brand content on average more than 80% faster than category competitors. To find out more, please visit itsrapid.ai. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time on Beyond the Shelf.